Hi, so this is video one of a whole series based on Baker's percentage, and this is really the intro. So the goal today is to go through why we use it, how we use it, and when we use it. So the first thing we need to discuss is Baker's percentage. So in this video, it will also be articulated like this, so you'll know what that means when I just do the BP with the percentage. So really a Baker's percentage is a language between ingredients and outcome. And what we do here is we're trying to articulate what the ingredients will do and how they will perform in the end. It's a shared language in a kitchen because in it we can create consistent results. So we have consistent results. We have scalability. We have the ability to solve problems. And we have the ability to create new products. So some general rules that we follow when we work in Baker's percentage is that we start with all weights. We don't work with volume because volume doesn't consider mass. And it's really important that we consider mass because we're dealing with different types of masses. So we use weight. So a good example or a good illustration of this would be the difference between a cup of feathers and a cup of rocks. A cup of feathers is not going to weigh the same as a cup of rocks. So when you work with Baker's percentage, we always use weights, and you can use both the metric system, or you can use more of the U.S. System of representation. So a metric being kilos and grams, the U.S. system being more ounces and pounds. Either one will work interchangeably. For points of reference, 1 pound or 16 ounces equals 454 grams. I should probably write that down. So I'll also use this as the pound marker. And 1 ounce equals 28.35 grams. Just so you have a point of reference when you're thinking in terms of what does that look like if I'm going to get a cup measure or a bowl, or do I need a tub to get the ingredients. Okay, so what we want to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a formula, and we're going to actually work in bread, but you can apply Baker's percentage, and actually it was originally applied to charcuterie. So it would have been your protein, and then you would have everything would be a representation of the protein or in relationship to the protein. So for example, if you had pork, you would have so much fennel. In our situation, we're using flour as the 100%. So we're going to start with a formula, and then we're going to do a series of steps to change a yield, okay? So the way this works is we're going to have ingredients up here. And our ingredients are going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have bread flour, whole wheat flour, rye flour. Hopefully you're okay with me shortening these. And then we're going to have water, and we will have salt and instant yeast, instant active yeast. And remember, there's different types of yeast, so when we work, it's really important to remember that. So these are going to be expressed in percentages. So bread flour is going to make up 60%, whole wheat is going to make up 30%, your rye flour 10%, water will do 72%, salt will do 1.8%, and instant active yeast 1%, okay? So this is what you're given. You work as a pastry chef, you're given this formula. So you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make, call it 6,000 ounces of bread, or 6,000 grams of bread. This is a formula that will work to make 6,000 grams. So the way we do that is now, step 2 would be to convert all of these to decimal points. So just to refresh your memory, to convert to decimal points, you would take the 60, and the decimal point is kind of imaginary, it's there, so you would move it 2 places to the left. So it would become 0.60, 0.30, 0.10, 0.72, 0.018, because again, remember you're taking that in 1, 2, and then you have to add another one, and then 0.01. You add all these up together, so what that's going to end up being is you're going to get a total percentage for all of those, and that's going to be 1.75. We're going to go with, it's actually 1.74. Sorry, one second. Yeah, so we're going to use that as our percentage. Now, at this point, we have these numbers, and now we are going to apply a new yield. So I'm going to say to you, you need to make 6,000 grams of dough. So from the 6,000 grams, you're going to divide that by the 1.75, which is right there. That would be the next step in this process. So from that, you will get a sum of 3,428.7. Actually, it's 0.57. And then you will round that up. Now, this is the only time you're going to round this any numbers, because it's the only place where everything is going to be based on that number. So we'll go 3,430, okay? So you're going to apply what now is, this is called a multiplier. And this is a super important number because it is going to be applied to all of these. So the next step would be, I'm going to change markers so you can see it clearly, would be to multiply these each by the multiplier times 3,430. Okay, and your totals are going to be 2,058, if you can see that, and then you're going to have 1,029, and then you will have 343, 2,469. It sounds like a lot, but it's actually not that much. 61.74 and 34.3. So you add this all up, and it will come within about 10 grams of your total 6,000. And that is how you would take a formula that you know your baker's percentage, but you may not know, you may have to switch the yield, or you may not know what the actual yield is on the recipe, but you have this understanding. So the other thing I want to highlight in this discussion is, when, as bakers, we look at this and we know what this is your hydration, your water, right? So it tells you a lot about what's going to happen with this formula. Some things you should know is when you work in baker's percentage, all your flours equal 100%, right? So if you have just one flour, it's 100%. But here we have 3, so it's 60, 30, and 10. So together, as a collective, they equal your 100%. Water, a very common formula, is going to be 60 to 70% of water in a bread formula is really common. Salt, really common, 1.8 to 2% salt. And then instant yeast, it depends on the type of yeast and how long you're going to ferment and those kind of things. So in a very quick sense, this is baker's percentage as a whole, just to reinforce what we're going through in class. And give you some time to process it through a little bit further. Thanks.